Should you retire early? On the one hand, you could retire earlier. On the other hand, you could work longer. So this episode is for people who maybe you're thinking about retiring early. You know it's probably possible, but you just can't pull the trigger. So even though working longer always makes more sense from a numbers perspective, it doesn't always make sense from a quality of life viewpoint. So in this episode, we're going to discuss the non-mathematical reasons to retire early.
This is the Money Master Podcast. On this show, we hope to provide clarity and empowerment through a thoughtful and friendly discussion about the important topics that shape our financial lives. Your hosts are Connie Davis and certified financial planner Nick Davis. They're a husband and wife team and the founders of Brindle & Bay Wealth Management.
Hey everyone, Connie here along with Nick and Tori. So, Tori, welcome to Money Master Podcast.
Thanks. We're all in the room together.
Yeah, so nice to have you. So today, obviously, all three of us will be on here together for the very first time. And today we're going to talk about some of the reasons that a person would consider retiring early.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we are squeezing a podcast in between our meetings because we're all at work and we all three work together here at Brindle & Bay.
Yep.
And also to kind of give a little disclaimer, retiring early, we're not advocating retiring early recklessly. This is, as you know, I'm a big believer in being properly prepared for retirement. So this is not advice on getting fed up and walking off the job and putting yourself into a compromising situation. This is about people who feel like they've been told that they can retire. Like we've heard this before. And they just want to keep putting it off because of maybe mental reasons. It could be mathematical, but ultimately it comes down to mental reasons. Now, we will do an episode later about why you should not retire early. So we're not going to qualify all of our reasons to retire early by giving you the opposite math reason today. So we will talk about the myths that we believe, not the myths that we believes, the myths that we believe.
I actually have a really great story, kind of goes along with this. So my dad called me last week and he's like, well, today was my last day. I was like, last day for what? And he's like, I did it. I retired today. And I was confused because 6 months ago, he had showed me his countdown calendar on his phone of his retirement date of January 1st, 2023. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Did I miss something? What's happening here? And, it was 2 days of he had just gotten fed up. And he was like, enough is enough. He tossed his keys and said, I'm done. And he walked out. And he felt so good, but he knew, right, that he was prepared to retire.
The money side was there.
Yes, it was just happening 5 or 6 months early. But I called him the next day at 12:30, and I was like, hey, you got lunch ready for me? And he's like, yep, just finished grilling my burger.
Yeah, sometimes it's a triggering event like that. I've had people that say, well, I'm going to retire in 2 years. I know I could retire now. And then 6 months later, they walk in the office and I retired.
By the way.
Yeah, I was like, what?
I was ticked off because they put somebody over me that was younger and getting paid more than me all of a sudden, and he was bossing me around or she was bossing me around. So we do get triggered into retirement different ways, but there is a reluctance behind it, for lots of reasons.
So I'm curious to hear, what are some of these myths?
So the first one is I'm going to work longer because I'll be able to retire to enjoy retirement later.
I got time.
Yeah, I got time. I'll do that later. I'll be able to enjoy retirement later. And, the opposite of that is really, well, you don't know how much later you've got. I think we all can agree to that. Everybody knows that we're not guaranteed tomorrow. I know somebody who quit their job in their mid-40s because they felt like they weren't being as meaningful as they should be and wanted to pursue a totally different career because they're like, I don't know that I'll live to 60. I don't know I'll live to 70.
Yeah.
But, you could create more meaningful years if you retire early. What can those extra years give you? In fact, that's a great question to ask yourself. What could these extra years give me? We just dropped off our daughter at college. So we are just going through this feeling of beginning to become empty nesters. were not empty
Nope.
nesters.
Two left.
Two are still in the house.
But it
So-
is a different feeling.
Emptier nesters.
Yeah, so Sunday night we got home and I was really kind of sad. You know, there's no car in the driveway where my daughter's car used to be.
Yeah.
You know, so all of a sudden every family vacation mattered. Every trip to our cabin mattered. Every time on the boat mattered. Every time you go to the movies together became way more precious. How many more of those moments could you create moving forward?
Right. What do you get to do with your time
Yeah.
during those years?
Yeah, because another falsity, which we haven't really officially weren't going to talk about, though, is, you know, retirement sounds like an end, not a journey, and it really is a journey.
It's just the next step, the next part.
A new chapter. Yeah.
So you will, just like you go into your career and you face your career and you navigate who you're going to be, how you're going to find meaning, all those things, you're going to enter this next phase, which, you know, they say is, you know, there's 8,000 days of being a baby, 8,000 days of being an adolescent, 8,000 days of being, of developing and maturing. And then there's another phase, which is 8,000 days of exploring. There's a way that some people break down.
I've never heard that. And
Haven't
I am
either.
not quick at math, so how many years is 8,000 days?
I don't know. I've got an infographic that we should find. It's on one of my slide decks somewhere. But the point is, you're going to enter it, and you're going to be, you know, try to be meaningful in it all.
All right. Well, that's good. I mean, okay? So I haven't heard that one as much as some of the other ones that we're going to talk about. So Tori, what's another one?
So another myth or falsity, or sometimes, you know, we hear a lot of, more money is better. I need more money before I can make that decision to retire.
Yeah.
Before I can say, okay, I'm
yes.
finally done because I have enough. Even if you've been maybe told you have enough, but you just feel like you're always needing
Yeah.
to save more, which I understand as a financial planner and
Yeah.
creating plans for people and doing this. I see the benefit of wanting a little extra cash, a little bit more before I make that call.
Yeah.
But then that's the same thing, you know, you're talking about in your last point of what's the benefit compared to more meaningful years is, you know, you may have more, but you may die with a bunch of extra cash.
Or you give that money to the government because you just pay more taxes because you grew your 401k so big.
Right.
It
Right.
feels weird saying this as financial planners who are saying, yes, more money is
More.
better, but what's the purpose of it?
Right. What are you going to do with it?
Like, our job is to actually redirect you into the purpose of the money, not just the math.
Right. And there is something to be said for legacy, leaving money for
Yeah,
people. But
sure.
if your only goal is to have a bunch of cash and you can't even spend it all during your retirement years, what are you working for?
Yeah, I get that.
A good question to maybe ask yourself if you're considering, you know, I know that I have enough money. Should I work another year or not work another year? Think about 365 days from now and you decided to continue working. Will you think, oh gosh, I kind of regretted that because I could have done X, Y, Z.
Right. What are
Right.
you going to regret more?
Yeah,
Either
yeah,
Go
exactly.
ahead, retire, or make
Yeah.
a little bit more
Or
money.
will
What
you
are
be
you
like,
going to regret?
yeah, oh, I should have kept
I
working.
wish I had one more year's salary saved up.
Well, since we're talking about this, I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into this, and the episode may get a little bit longer, but there are 3 questions that go along with this, what Connie just said about the 365 days. And we have been thinking about implementing these 3 questions into our practice, and we haven't done it yet. There's actually designations that have been around for 10 years for financial planners that are about lifestyle planning. And they ask these 3 questions, and I actually gave this as homework to a class I was teaching the other night. These questions are very emotion evoking, and these are great journaling questions. And the first one is the easiest, the third one is the hardest. The first one is, if you had, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember the questions, and now
Off the top of your head.
Let's
Okay.
see. Okay, here's the first one. I've got it for real. Okay, if you were financially well off today, and you knew you would be financially well off the rest of your life, describe what meaning or what things you would do. What feelings do you feel? What things would you do? So just start that as a journal prompt. That's question number 1. Okay. Question number 2. In fact, the episode would be better if we called it the 3 questions, like the 3 journal prompts, right? Because this is these are great questions. The second question is, if you were told you had 5 or 10 years to live, and you knew you were going to be healthy the entire time, you would just drop dead in 10 years or 5 years. Okay, what comes to mind? What would you want to do? What are things that you would want to do? That's a great bucket list question.
Yeah.
Third question, this is the one that I feel a lot of emotional response to, and that is, Imagine that you're told by a doctor that you will die within 24 hours to 48 hours. Okay. Now describe, what do you feel you've left undone?
Wow.
That is very powerful.
Yeah.
If you were to spend some time, spend a week in the mornings alone, just journaling on that for a few minutes a day, I think you could create a lot of meaning, and that might help you to, as kind of that first point, which was, create some more meaningful years and experiences.
Well, it's nail down what you would regret.
Yeah.
If you had that 24-hour time marker, what would you actually regret?
Yeah.
Not doing.
Boy,
Yeah.
It's very like soul emote. Like I feel like, just a lot of emotion behind that. So, and it's not comfortable. Like you don't want to do that. Right. But I would challenge you to do that. And if you're listening and you do that and you have a good impact, let us know. You can always send us a message at hello@brindleandbay.com and let us know. So we have 2 or 3 more points.
Yeah. So the third myth or falsity is that you will spend more money in retirement. And that is not always true. Your phases of life are going to change. So yeah, you may spend a little more upfront because you bought that new RV for retirement. You're going to pay it off. Or you've got 10 years of vacation goals that you want to do while you're still young and experience life that way. But over time, your retirement budget will shift a little bit.
Yeah. So instead of like lumping it all together and saying I need $80,000 a year or $100,000 a year
forever
with 3% inflation forever, maybe actually break it down differently. That's what we do here. Maybe put 10 or 15 years of expensive vacations in there, 5 years of paying the RV off, but don't have that high level of budget your entire life because, you've heard this before, but you tend to have a honeymoon phase in retirement where you spend more money and then the spending tapers off a little bit and then it gets more expensive later in life because of healthcare. So, but there's a lot of other things that are happening as well that might make it that so that you could retire earlier than you think. So I would look more closely at your, ask yourself, is it true that I'll spend more? Okay. It feels weird saying that because we are being aware of that. We are, saying, hey, because it could be a wild card for you. Maybe your spending's out of control. So don't use this as specific advice for you. Okay.
And going back to those 3 questions that you mentioned as journal prompts, that can kind of help you see what's really important to me and where might I be spending more or less money.
And it helps you nail down that emotional switch from saving to now I have to spend this money and that fear. And if you've got those journal prompts and can write down what's really going to matter to you, it makes that shift easier of like, hey, I need to get to this next phase. Yeah. It's okay to go there now because that's what's going to matter to me down the road.
Yeah.
And it really assigns meaning to the money that you are now shifting to spend.
Right.
Which is also emotional, is when you start spending that lump sum that you've spent all this time, saving.
Building up,
it's very emotional when you are depending upon that for the rest of your life, which is why planning is so important.
Well, so another one that we hear is, I'm not stressed, so why stop working? So, this is a falsity. Many people love their job, which is great, and we've gotten used to that rhythm that we're in every day. We wake up at a certain time, we leave the house at a certain time to either miss traffic or sit in traffic. And, we are comfortable with how our day goes. And so even though your job might not seem like it's stressful,
because it's less stressful than it was 10 years ago.
Sure, and it becomes comfortable for us, but yet those deadlines, the sitting in traffic, the deadlines of, the meetings that you have, all that really does play an emotional role on you, a toll. It's kind of like when you were young and you had your kids and they were toddlers, you're used to running around those toddlers and that becomes your phase of life and you adjust. But then when you become a grandparent and you're watching your grandchildren and you're running around them, it's a whole different story, right?
It seems a little bit more intense.
So you may have some of these underlying stressors that you've just become used to at your workplace. And I cannot tell you, Tori, Nick, right, the amount of people that we have seen here in our office that they're saying, hey, I'm retiring. And then we see them a couple months later and we're like, whoa, you look great. Yeah. You've really lost some weight. Like, what have you been doing? Like, oh, I'm not working.
Just working.
I'm not stressed. Right. So you might want to consider what may be some of those stressors that we just
They're
overlook.
not even aware of. Yeah.
I mean, they lose 20 pounds and they
Yeah.
say, well, whatever the program was, they always say, well, the program was good, but it's because I just wasn't as stressed. Like, you would not believe that I actually, now if you're stressed at work, then you're really stressed. But I'm talking
Yeah.
to the people that don't feel stressed at work. They retire. Okay, we are reporting to you from the front line of what happens when people retire, what we see. And what we see is people who are not stressed actually realize that they were stressed at work. And man,
They just didn't know it till they removed it.
Yeah.
They removed the stressor.
And how many more years of life expectancy span did you put on yourself by getting rid
Yeah.
of those 20 pounds, and being able to take care of yourself?
Yeah, another thing that I truly love seeing is when pre-retirement, people come in and sometimes, not all the time, we can visually see a weight on them being stressed. And then they retire and they come in and it's like 20 pounds emotionally was let go.
Yeah.
And their face is, you can just tell through their face. They're so
Happier,
happy.
lighter, yeah.
It is very, very noticeable. I wish we could package that and show people because
Yeah.
the world does not
Before
see
and
it.
after retirement
Yeah,
pictures,
really.
right?
For sure.
Yeah. And the last myth is, my job is my identity, meaning I can't quit working because I won't have meaning. I won't know what to say to people when they ask me what I do for a living. It sounds funny, but it's like I've always been an accountant, or I've always been a executive, or I've always been a engineer. You just think of what it is. You've identified like that.
Right.
But maybe a solution would be to come up with some funny title for yourself, because I've seen people come up with these titles. In fact, they email me and in fact, sometimes the really great guys and gals will come in with their business cards. Like,
Right.
they have a business card with like full-time retiree as
My
their
new job.
title. Yeah. So what can it be for you? Full-time, grandchild entertainer, full-time unsolicited advice giver, full-time chauffeur. Maybe there's something, but
I don't know. Nick, do you have, what would yours be?
I don't know. This is the
Full-time wood shopper.
Yeah, this is
Wood shopper.
Wood shop.
Wood
I mean,
shop.
Yeah, everybody knows I'm always in the
Woodworker.
wood shop.
Woodworker.
I don't know. That's hard for me too. I mean,
There's
it's-
another journal prompt.
It's
What
hard for
would
me
your
because I gotta
Yeah.
say I really do identify as a financial planner, and that's who I am as a profession. That's who I am when people see me. Family members call me up and ask me for advice. I enjoy giving advice. So it's tough. I mean, that maybe my career is different in that I don't know that I want to retire. It's really but here again, I got to take my own advice, because maybe there's more stress than we realize, even though we're not, we don't feel so stressed in our jobs. But if you are thinking of a special job title as a retiree, let us know. Send us a message at hello@brindleandbay.com. You can also text us now, so you can text us at 214-988-9178. That's 214-988-9178. Text us and let us know, what will your job title be when you retire, or if you already are retired.
Well, thank you guys for joining us today. And if you've enjoyed the show, help us spread the word. You can do that in two ways. First, you can share the Money Master podcast with someone that you know. And second, consider leaving us a 5-star review. People just like you are out there looking for shows just like this, and they will find that by reading your 5-star review. So we appreciate that, and we look forward to reading those soon.
See you next time. Thanks.
Nick Davis is an investment advisor representative of Brindle and Bay Financial Advisors, a registered investment advisor. This show is for informational purposes only. Any exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered financial advice or recommendation to buy or sell a financial vehicle. You should consult a qualified financial, tax, or legal professional before taking any action. This program is not endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing company. Insurance licensed in Texas, number 1188639. Brindle and Bay Wealth Management is affiliated with Brindle and Bay Financial Advisors.